lot of stick over this for being ginger, but I'm proud to be ginger. Irish dancing is not a gay sport, or not gay about it. I'm very, very proud to be an Irish dancer. And the pink shirt has got no bearing on the whole thing.
I've no idea how the impact. He would have talked to the Pope. He just was full of fun.
Cabby man.
He was a bit of a character and he enjoyed life. He lived life to the full and squeezed a lot into his 26 years and his travels.
He was awfully kind and good. There were different things that he did we weren't aware of.
I suppose he always thought he's going to be famous, and to a certain degree that has happened, you know, and for me it's symbolic, and I suppose it's a blessing too that I can say I was a friend, had all those experiences with somebody that's name is helping to alleviate so many other people's and families' pain.
Oh, he got up to a lot of things, but he was a good lad.
Oh no, he was a great fella, like all the children are, and great respect for everybody and things.
Well, the work of the Kevin Bell Repatriation Trust is basically if someone dies abroad tragically, we will pay to bring them home.
Well, the Kevin Bell Repatriation Trust started whenever Kevin was killed on the 16th of June. And we'll say it started that time because that's whenever the ball started rolling.
Whenever Kevin died and the news broke in Newry, the place went into a frenzy of fundraising to bring Kevin home. And as I say, on the day that Kevin died was the day I learned about the goodness of people, especially about the goodness of the people of Newry.
Somebody had turned around and said, the Bells don't want you collecting any more, there's enough. And we said, no, just keep it going because Kevin wasn't the first and he won't be the last.
And I think that's why it grows from strength to strength, that all the fundraising and money is usually different people's initiatives, people that have experienced the KBRT and benefited from the KBRT and have come to the KBRT and says, well listen, we want to do something. I suppose in the last year of his life he was in America and I visited him. I was in Tennessee, I was doing Study USA at the time, and I visited him in New York. Great time, first time in New York. And then it's funny how things work, and often I think things happen in life and they provide unintended consequences. I came back home for Christmas in 2012 and flew back to America in 2013, 5th of January, and had 10 days to kill if you want. And he says, why don't you come to New York? And that's exactly what I done, and I had no thought of doing that. And looking back now, that was the last 10 days we sort of spent together, and that's not to put it negatively, that's just, it was brilliant.
It was Colin's birthday and we were getting ready for a family party.
We were having my mother and Ethna's mother and father and family members up.
I had been speaking to Kevin the day before on the phone and we had the best of crack.
Myself and Sean and Brendan were out the back.
Friends from down the road. I just saw them out through the window, Caroline and Vinny. And I said, shout at Colin. I says, this is about Kevin. I opened the door and he says, what's happened, my Kevin? And Vinny said, go on, I think you better sit down, Ethna. I said, please tell me what's happened, Kevin, how bad is it? And he says it's the very worst.
The next thing, I was called into the front room where Ethna was there with Vinny and Caroline Toner, who had come to break the news that Kevin had been killed.
And it was just, it's a memory will never leave you. It'll always be there. And it was breaking the news to the rest of the children and the family and just thinking that he'd never be home again. But that's life, isn't it? Have to learn how to cope with it. So it was hard to believe that whenever we got word about Paul Lambert.
It was 8 months after Kevin and we were just stunned. We couldn't believe that that two sisters would lose two sons in more or less exactly the same way.
I was in bed and the phone rang at 3:22 a.m. and I heard an American voice on the other end of the phone. And I thought, this isn't good. And the guy said, am I speaking to Noelle Lambert? I said, yes. Mother of Paul Lambert? I said, yes. I said, what is it? He said, my name is Mark Nagaya. I'm ringing from the medical examiner's office in San Francisco. And he said, unfortunately, it's the worst news possible. But anyway, the policeman said to me, he said, your son got out of a taxi, went into Subway, got a sandwich, and came down, was crossing the road, and was hit by a speeding car.
My sister Noelle rang the house here, I think, was it about 3 o'clock one morning, and we jump whenever the phone rings in the middle of the night.
Colin answered the phone and he said, Noelle, what? And I said, Colin, I've had a phone call from San Francisco. And he said, what? And I said, it's the same as Kevin. And Colin said, what? And Colin said to me, he says, Noelle, you have to tell Edna, I can't.
So I came into the hall and I lifted the phone and Noelle just said to me, Edna, the same thing's happened Paul as happened Kevin. I said, what? She says, no, Paul's been killed in San Francisco.
She says, are you sure? I said, Edna, I am sure. I said, she said, right, I'm coming over.
My response was, as it was whenever I heard Kevin had died, Sacred Heart of Jesus, I place all my trust in thee, just straight into prayer. And then I got into the car and went over to Noelle.
And she came in and she just I can't believe this. Like 8 months after Kevin. Edna said, look, Colin will handle it, because sadly they knew how to do it.
No, it was just, you just think to yourself, good God, how much more can one family take? But Paul was another great fella and giving his life to charity over there in San Francisco, working for a charitable organisation. And like that, just, as we said, was his time, he's just plucked away.
And then I heard he was coming home, and so that was the Thursday, and I don't know how we got through the days, but as the days went on, the excitement built up on me. It was like a child waiting for Christmas. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Saturday I was saying, Sunday then, I said, just one more sleep and he'll be home. And it was like the excitement was just unbelievable. To know that he was going to come home. Never did I think something like that would happen twice in one family. I mean, it's strange. When Paul did come home at Kevin's month's mind, when he came in, we went into Ethna's, and he sat between Ethna and myself, and he took Ethna's hand and my hand, and he said, listen, he said, I was speaking to Kevin just the week before he died. He said, and we had a great catch up, and he said, do you know, Paul, if I died in the morning, I would have no regrets because I've done everything I wanted to do. He said, I've still more I do want to do. He said, but I have enjoyed every minute of my life. And he squeezed my hand and he said to me, Mummy, and if anything happens to me, I'm exactly the same.
The trust is known worldwide now in the space of 2.5 years.
If the government were to get involved, I feel that there'd be an awful lot of red tape, an awful lot of signing off forms and everything.
We do get an amazing level of support, and we're not asking governments to help us, but if the governments were to give us money, I mean, it would be well used.
You can bring a personal element into it. Like whenever Kevin arrived in here on that Wednesday, it was just, oh my goodness, he's home. Thank God. You felt as though he was safe again. And I know that that's with other families, that's how they feel whenever you get that news and you don't know where to turn, and you're just hoping and praying that you'll get them home as soon as possible.
I mean, I think it does help the other families to know that we have had the same experience. Brendan understands the work, what has to be done when we get the news, and he and Kira, of course, Damien Roddy, of course, they all have that experience of working with funeral undertakers abroad and with repatriation companies.
As long as we keep it in the family and friends, you know, you'll still have that personal touch with it. It won't be, as I say, cold, just bringing up somebody behind the desk.
I mean, the work will go on if whatever happens.